Drum roll, please. Oh, there it was. What up, guys? We are here, episode 13, lucky 13. We feel like today is going to be the best episode we've ever had. Brooks, Jason, Brian, Taylor, welcome, guys, to the Infinite Agent Podcast. How's everybody doing today? When we were talking just a second ago, I wanted to make sure and ask you this question. How is everybody doing today? How you doing?
I'm good. Jonathan, how are you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, it's sort of a sad day in America.
It is a sad day.
Some sad stuff's happening in our Metroplex, and then some sad stuff's happening in the nation. So coming to start with a heavy heart, and our thoughts and prayers are with everybody struggling today. I'll just say that. Brooks, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jonathan. I think it's a good reminder to take inventory of what you have. When you get frustrated, make sure that you think about the fact that we live in America, we've got running water, we have AC. All of these things are things that we should be grateful for. And it's times like these, that we really should take inventory and let our loved ones know that we care.
My gosh. Gratitude, it seems more and more important in these days. Gratitude is chosen, not found. That's one of my favorite quotes. But if you're hopping on here early and you're already watching this, would you do us a favor that does you a favor and just put something in the chat that you're grateful for? And I love what you said. It can be as simple as my health, because that's not a simple one. That is a huge one. Taylor, how you doing today?
Thumbs up. Thumbs up from Taylor.
Oh, it looks like 2 thumbs up. Wow.
2 thumbs up.
3 thumbs up. Whose thumb is that one? Brian, how you doing today?
I'm good. I actually heard something earlier today that a doctor goes through his staff, and on a scale of 1 to 5, where are you?
Wow.
And if it's 1, how can we pray for that? If it's a 5, then what are we celebrating? And then as I pivoted into the real estate world, my grounding with gratitude is the statement that the instructor said is that what if you wake up tomorrow and all that you have is what you gave thanks for today?
Okay, so let's do that real quick. I just want to say, I was going to skip around it, but let's do that activity. Anybody watching now, live or on the replay, give them the scale one more time.
Scale of 1 to 5. 1, you kind of need prayer, you need help. 5, everything's really, really rosy in your life. So from a scale of 1 to 5, how are you today? And then you can judge, and you know how to interact with that person throughout the day. So if because you may be dealing with something heavy.
Yeah, so if you're watching this live on YouTube, put a 1 to 5 in the comments. How you doing today? If you're watching this live on Facebook, put a 1 to 5. If it's a 5, what are you celebrating? So if it's a 5, put what you're celebrating. If it's a 2, 3, or 4, fantastic. And if it's a 1, put how we can pray for you. How's that sound?
Perfect.
I love that, Brian.
Yeah, sounds great.
I just want to say right now, my prayers are with Charlie Kirk as he's in critical condition after being shot today. Man, nobody deserves what he's going through right now. And it's a difficult day in our world because there is so many examples of hate this week in our world. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'm going to take 5 seconds. Let's have a moment of silence on our podcast for Charlie Kirk. God bless him. And may there be a miraculous story of healing through this.
And I think the big thing to take away from Charlie and what he does is he wants to have a conversation. He believes that every idea should be examined and discussed openly, and he's not a person who mocks or is sarcastic about it, but he actually wants an open and honest dialogue, and he comes from a good place in that, and he believes that he can help people through a discussion actually figure out the truth.
Yeah, there's been so many times in the recent days that I've had friends on the other side of a faith, a religion, a local vote, maybe just as small as city council or mayor, a state vote, maybe as small as House of Representatives or Senate or governor, or maybe as big as our presidential vote. I have friends on both sides and in the middle and unincorporated, don't care. But I can be friends across all those lines with all those people. And I just hope that today, maybe as we start this podcast with a little bit more of a gray cloud over it, that you would be willing to choose love today, wherever you are. Let's go to the chat and get caught up, and then we're going to get right in. Where are you watching from? We love that so much. So drop the city and state you're watching from, and then we are going to have an emoji war today. Last week's emoji war did not happen because we were off last week. But we need a winner today. And right now, we have no emojis in the chat, so it's going to be easy to be in the lead. But prayers for Charlie Kirk, triple exclamation point. Valeria is leading that. Neanna Willis says 4, so we are celebrating that with you. And then Valeria says, amen, Jonathan, period. Super sad, period. First Amendment rights should always be protected, period. So thanks for that. And here we go. Let's get right in, because today is going to be a pivot. We have the job reports come out. Can I get a little more volume in my headset? We had the job reports come out. Thank you so much. We had the job opening report come out. We also had, let's start there.
Well, the revisions, too, that just came out this morning, and then the CPI as well.
What does that stand for, Brooks?
Consumer Price Index. And so where they're looking at specific things that everyone uses and what has happened with inflation with those goods and services.
You know, the jobs report, did you hear the shortage, Jason?
Yeah, it was the largest drop in U.S. history.
From what, of jobs reports? Between jobs reports, the largest drop in U.S. history. What was it? Like almost a million?
It was over 910 million.
It was 911 million.
Which I really
Or
thought was
911,000, sorry.
which I thought
911,000.
was really interesting with what tomorrow is.
What's tomorrow?
9/11.
911.
Oh, wow. 911,000 jobs short on the report.
Hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah,
That's
reversed.
interesting, yeah.
Well, and this is an interesting thing that happened. So there's been a scientific experiment that's been going on through, I want to say it's like 2 decades. And basically they had random number generators all around the world. And then leading up to 9/11, the random number generators stopped being random.
Really?
9/11 happened, and then they started being random again over time. Many people aren't aware of that, but it does suggest, so there's different types of physics theories like string theory, but that everything came together for that one point. It was so important that then everything kind of started splitting apart from there.
Well, and we're going to talk about today how these jobs reports affect you, because this is an overarching, this message to the economy when the job reports comes out affects everybody. And a lot of people don't know how it affects them. They don't even know what the jobs reports are, when they come out, how often they come out. We're going to talk about that just a little bit. How does the jobs report give you good news, bad news? How does it affect you? We're going to go to that in just a second. Let's go back to the chat. Trenton Mooney leading the epic war on emojis with praying hands. Thank you, Trenton. Miranda Avenshire is watching from Burleson, Texas. What up, Miranda? And Valeria has just taken the lead with 6 emojis, 3 party cannons, 3 smiley party faces, 3 red hearts, 3 white hearts. That is a dozen emojis in the chat. Valeria, you're in the lead. Let's go to... Jason, when you think about the job reports, how do you dissect what the job reports mean?
Well, you know, I've come into this looking at it from a different aspect, because the job reports, to me, are always inaccurate.
Okay.
From a standpoint that they don't segment and look at how many of these are second jobs.
Oh,
And I think that there's been a large segment of the population that over the last 5 to 10 years, they've had to have 2 jobs or 3 jobs.
oh yeah.
And those are all getting counted as newly created jobs, and I don't think that's accurate. So I think a lot of this, the revision coming down 911,000 jobs, is actually counting some of that.
Yeah, and we're calling today's episode The Great Buyer Comeback, What Lower Rates Mean for You. And so whenever the job reports comes out and it's softer than expected, what follows the job report, so the job reports were this week, the CPI was this week, the report was softer than expected. And that's kind of what we were hoping for, because if the job reports was soft, that means that the Fed meets September 16th, which is...
In a week.
in a week. When the Fed meets next week, what do you guys expect from this?
I'll go ahead and make my prediction. I think it's going to be a full half point.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a full half point.
Up or down?
I think it's going to go down a half point.
So you think the Fed will reduce rates by a half
do.
point? Okay. Brooks, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this report is what pushed over the edge. So what it suggests is that during the previous administration, they had been cooking the numbers to show the economy was stronger than it was. I think a lot of people experientially felt that the economy wasn't that strong, like what they were actually feeling day to day. And kind of what Jason's talking about how them having to get 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet.
Right.
Kind of said that what we were getting as economic data was not good because they're looking at the jobs report to be able to predict what to do in regard to interest rates to spur the economy on. And so if it's bad data in, bad data out. And so they're looking at all these different things to say, where are we? What's the temperature?
What do you predict?
I think it's going to be a full half point.
You do too.
Yeah, because what it suggests is that we've actually been in a recession since April of 2024. I do think it actually started in 2023. But yes, this revision suggests that, we've had successive lack of jobs in creation to suggest that the economy hasn't been as strong and that there's been a lot of books being cooked. And what preceded this was actually the firing of the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics a month ago. So it kind of reminds me of what you said at the beginning, is that you're having friends on both sides of the political spectrum. And so what it will be interesting to see is that a lot of conservatives were saying that the jobs reports were being cooked during the previous administration. Now, what is the other side going to say about this revision? Is it that now they're cooking the jobs reports to give reason for a interest rate reduction?
Yeah, I like this because you think about a couple things here. You see that if a jobs report is soft, some people say, oh man, that's not good news. Other people would say, you know what? It's been a recession for a couple years and we haven't been told it's a recession. They're finally using the R word. We're in a recession. We got to pull out of it.
They're saying recession big time. And, I do totally agree with these two guys that we're going to see probably a half point drop. However,
a week from now.
However, I've got a little bit of a different take on this. I think that we have already seen the lenders bake that rate cut into the rates that we have today.
Really?
So I think there's going to be a lot of buyers and a lot of realtors out there expecting a bigger drop in the actual rates than we're actually going to see.
Yeah, here's the interesting point. You think about if a jobs report is soft, then there's going to be a rate cut. So I believe there's going to be a rate cut. I think it's going to be a quarter point. I'm not disagreeing with you guys because it's going to be interesting. I think there's almost as big of a chance it's going to be a half point as a quarter. I think it's going to end up being a quarter. I'm hoping for a half. Now, what people that are listening to this podcast need to understand, this is not the mortgage rates that are going to be cut. What rate is it? And tell us about that.
It's the overnight window. So this is the inner lending rate that banks charge each other to borrow money to maintain liquidity in the system.
Yeah, I love clarifying that because mortgage rates will typically follow this, but this is not the interest rate that the Feds cut. Feds don't control mortgage rates.
No, it's normally on the 10-year Treasury is what tracks it the most. The brokers group for loan brokers have the ability to go up as much as 3% of whatever it is in regard to what they charge, but they reduce that based upon activity to spur more people out there spending. And so that's what we call the spread. And the spread varies from each lender to make what is worthwhile for them to actually do the loan and take on the risk of loaning out money over a long period of time.
Yeah, I love that. And the spread is actually what it cost you. You know, when people say the cost of money, well, it's some people need a bigger spread. Some people operate on a thinner spread. Money is getting cheaper. When rates fall, which we anticipate next week, rates falling, all four of us who are, we're not economists, but we study this thing like the gospel. So we have all watched the data. We listen to economists, and we believe that rates are falling next week. And when they do, busting through the dam will be the message. Pent-up buyer demand that are waiting for the Fed to speak and waiting for money to get a little cheaper, they're going to bust through. The ones that are ready and calling a play in anticipation for next week's good news, those are the ones that will be there quick enough to get the deals. But the ones that react to the lag measure of a month later, the news is finally reporting it, then those people have missed the boat a little bit. What deals are you seeing now?
Still seeing a lot of the builders offering the 4.5, the 399. It's the end of their quarter, which I think we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they're working to get all this inventory off their books, working to put wins in the final quarter so that they can go back to their investors and their investors are happy and don't pull out. We've also seen Warren Buffett sit there and invest back into builders like Lennar and D.R. Horton, which he had done last year, and then he sold when rates didn't drop. So he was working to pre-position for a rate decrease so that he could ride that momentum up.
Well, and Alonda Duran was supposed to be on today, so we're getting some of these messages on YouTube. I'm coming in. We see your messages. Where's Alondra? Thank you for that. She unfortunately has a family illness that has come up, but we have already chosen a date that we'll announce very soon for her to come back on. So today we have the lovely, the greatly successful, the closed more deals this month than he has in his career, in any month of his career, Mr. Brian Certain with us, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Honored to be here.
Certainly one of the best realtors out there.
Yeah, and you think about this, Brian had a year where you closed, 2 or 3, and then you closed 6 last month. Am I right on this?
Correct.
It's amazing.
So, and again, and I always, use my name. So, when you're buying and selling real estate, don't you want to be certain?
Oh, I like this.
Even to the point that my tailor puts in certainly into the collars of my jackets.
Dude, there's so
That's
many
awesome.
puns there. What a great name for real estate. I love
Apparently, I've been certain since the day I was born.
Yes.
that is, I mean, Taylor, do we have
I feel like we have something we can work with here.
That's pretty
With the
good.
young kids these days, Jonathan, you should be walking out there. Don't you want your home to cook?
Oh, there you go. Maybe I'm missing something. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good there. Yeah. Man, I hate it. I hate it like crazy, but they have reported that Charlie Kirk has unfortunately passed away.
Oh my gosh.
My goodness. It's hard to go on when you receive news like this. My prayers are with all of those close to him. Man, so tragic. What a day. Brian Certain, double exclamation point, says Greg Potts, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 100 emojis for Mr. Be Certain from Greg Potts. Thank you, Greg, the fearless team leader of the Greg Potts team, upon which Brian hangs his hat.
Well, and he deserves it too because he's had his best month, and that does not come easy in this high interest rate environment. So the ability to actually have this type of success when so many agents out there are struggling to figure things out, it's something worthy of celebrating.
And the biggest thing for me is that it was balanced. It was half listings that closed and half new buyers that were buying.
And that's a great
and
business.
in both ends of the market, both brand new and in pre-owned. So I was in all parts of the market, and it was just the perfect storm. I mean, we all know, y'all have got a lot more experience, that could have been in 3 months. But the perfect storm was they all landed within a 30-day time period. And again, really, really happy with that. The listings moved as quickly as they did. It was 4 days on the market, 11 days on the market, and 18 days on the market.
Congratulations.
So that's the biggest piece of that I'm most proud of. Finding buyers and getting great deals, that's easier. It's not easy. That's easier, but getting the listings to the table and closed with little to no conflict, that's the piece of last month that I'm most proud of.
Yeah, and what do you attribute that success to? Whenever the times got tough on all these deals and the waves started coming, what do you attribute the success to get the train to closing down?
The biggest thing for me was diving into the real solution, was really getting in an environment that was about not siloing. And in an environment that was encouraging and uplifting and really diving into the market. I came with, almost 5 decades of insurance experience when I made this pivot. And when I started with my previous company, I always said, I will stay as long as I agree with the philosophies of the company.
Oh.
And that was 37 years. And it took me 35 years to not be happy with the company. And then it took me 2 years to sell my business and make the pivot. But now that I have that experience, I bring that experience to this element. I've always put home first in my insurance business. And we were kind of talking beforehand about how much the insurance game has changed in that now 40-year time period. I built my name on going to new home sales reps, and I would take them price sheets. And I could deliver that price sheet and know that I was going to be accurate because there was no individual qualifiers for age or credit or anything else that all come into play now. The biggest thing that's affecting the insurance market today is something we don't think about anymore, but it's snowmageddon.
Wow.
It was the only time in my career that I was in a catastrophe that went the entire 4 borders of Texas. I had clients all over the state of Texas that were affected by that one catastrophe. And I said then it's going to take 18 months for this catastrophe to be in the rates. I got out in July of 22. Rates went up in August of 22.
Wow.
don't have a crystal ball, but I did see that that's how long it would take, and it took exactly that long.
And that's an important thing for people to be aware of, is that everyone's been blaming interest rates for the affordability crisis, but it's actually property taxes as well as insurance. So when I got into the business, you can get an insurance policy for anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a year on a regular house
With
And
a
that's-
$250 deductible.
Yeah, and this was or a 1% deductible for a roof. And then after Snowmageddon, basically they forced everybody to a 2% deductible across the board. And I'm hearing people being quoted anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 for home insurance. Meanwhile, Texas legislature kind of punted. They didn't really pass property tax reform. And so people are getting priced out of their houses through insurance and property taxes.
Yeah, 100%. We're seeing, and this is a segment that's growing in America, but the elderly population that have actually paid their houses off that are calling us every day saying, I got to sell it because I can't afford to keep it. And sadly, they can't afford to live anywhere else because what they're paying is more than their budget, fixed income, but the rent to go somewhere else is more than their budget and their fixed income.
Yeah,
This
because
is a crisis.
because rent also has the element of taxes and insurance
Right.
factored in, and it's kind of cool because we've been waiting for this. This is finally the excitement building that we've all waited for, because it has been kind of a little bit of a recession, a tough market, and you feel this excitement building right now in anticipation for the Fed lowering rates next week. What that means for buyers is there is going to be buyers enter the market next week upon this news. There's going to be buyers enter the market today upon this news to say, oh, shoot, I better enter today. That way, when good news comes out next week and everybody hops in, I'm a week ahead of them.
Yes. And that's a great point, too, because whenever I bought my house, rates were 4.5%, and I was happy with that rate. It was a great rate. But when rates dropped to 2%, there was no way I would have been able to beat the competition to actually get my house.
Yeah.
And so I took advantage of refinancing. But if I didn't already own my house when rates dropped, I would have been beaten out, because I still, even though there weren't really low rates, there were still multiple offers on the house that I live in now.
Really?
And so I had sold my previous house. The other people were contingent, so they came back to us, and I would not have been able to afford the house that I'm currently in if I didn't buy it before rates dropped.
Yeah, and you think about date the rate. Have you heard marry the property, date the rate? You think about what that means. And my last 3 properties I've bought, I felt extremely blessed to get what I would consider a rare opportunity, something like it was on a cul-de-sac outside the city limits, or it was a one-story house in a certain square footage that there weren't a lot of one-story houses. And so I just said, you know what, whatever the rate is, I want that property, and I'll refi later. And I kind of want to hear y'all's advice on this, but I kind of go off, if I can gain a point, then I think the refi fees are enough. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
I think that's pretty consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm the senior statesman at the table this week, and I bought my first house in 1985.
Uh-oh, you paid a lot.
And it was a 12% mortgage with a 3-2-1 buy down. It was $78,000 for a 1,500 square foot 2-bed, 2-bath house.
What was that interest rate again?
12%.
12%.
I can't.
Wow.
And I even remember my parents in 1976. I believe that was the house that they had an 18% interest rate in Connecticut.
Whoa, hey, what'd you say there? That's cussing on this show.
Yeah, I feel like I'm, taking everyone's
How
name
much?
in vain. 18%.
Yeah, you're about to get canceled for spitting out rates like that.
That's right. And I'd
Golly.
like to just jump in and say that I'm really glad Brian's here today, because I am no longer the oldest guy at the table.
But you're the oldest regular guy at the table.
I'm the oldest regular.
That's
yes,
true.
sir.
If we go into comparing rates, I would say that right now, D.R. Horton is doing something that if you can close it in September, which we still have a few days where you could, they will give you a 3.99 fixed for 30-year rate. That doesn't mean, 3.99 first year, 4.9. It's not a buy down. That's a lock in at 3.99.
That's a lock in.
But let's talk about what else comes with that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have a client that signed that deal on Sunday.
Yeah, you did.
So $10,000 on the closing table.
We call it mad money now. We have a new term that we coined today, mad money. Do whatever you
Mad
want with it.
$10,000 of upgrades.
Holy smoke.
No lot premium. Total payment on a 2,000 square foot house are going to be around $2,600 a month. and their total out of pocket to get into this house, young couple in their 20s, total out of pocket is less than $12,000.
Yeah.
Oh my! You know,
it's
this should scream from the rooftops. Anybody consuming this podcast with a rent rate anywhere close to $2,600, you can own the thing for that. What rent rate? What's the interest rate on a rental property for the
100%.
renter? Ooh, that's a bad rate.
That's a horrible rate.
that's higher than the rates I was talking about.
Yeah, it is.
And
That's
I'll
a
say
cuss word.
this, D.R. Horton, I agree with you, Jonathan. They've got one of the most amazing opportunities out there right now. There's some communities in Cleburne, Texas, which is really not far from where we're at today,
Right? Yeah.
that you can get into for close to $2,000 a month.
Yeah,
There's another one in Everman that you
Yes.
can get into for about $2,000 a month.
I took someone to that Everman community last week, and they were quoted for their lowest priced house at $1,850
Yep.
a month, with as little out of pocket as I think less than $9,000.
Yeah, tell me where you can go get a rental for $1,800 a month.
There's not a lot of options anymore under $2,000 a month
there's
as a
not.
rental, and
Yeah,
then you can
and a
own
rental.
for that right here. I mean, close.
Close, yeah.
Everman's 10 minutes from our Airwave studios here, and you can get a new construction, new build, be the owner, get out of the rental rat race.
3-bedroom, 2-bath.
2-car garage, I'm sure. This is nice.
This one's a 1-car garage.
I'll take it.
Yeah, 1-car garage, 1,300 square feet.
Would you rather own a 1-car garage or rent a 2-car?
Oh, I'll take that 1-car all day.
Yeah,
All
let's
day
go to the
long.
chat real quick.
One car can be outside.
Yeah, I love it. Joanna Garnica says, plus they don't have a first payment till a month later. Current escrow accounts get refunded. And if they had an FHA loan, the MIP gets refunded on what wasn't used from closing date to refi date, ! This is nuts, dude. Thank you for that. Joanna, she is a great lender. And thank you for tuning in live and bringing the value. You know, here's the funny thing. If you close in September, you get $399. But if you close on something that's on the ground, period, and maybe it has to close in October or November, they'll give you $499.
Yeah.
$499.
Is $499 a good rate to lock in for 30 years?
Yes.
100%.
I like money.
And if it drops, you're not out anything because the
No.
builder paid for it. And this is the key why having an agent who does it full time is so important, because so many people are unaware of, one, the communities, and two, what they're offering.
Yes, they are.
And then the scariness of new construction, right? So how do I do it? Like when you go through real estate school, they really don't train you on new construction. You do have class where you can learn some about it, but actually the fact that it could be easier and a better position because your buyer's going to get a 1-year craftsmanship, 2-year mechanical,
Yeah.
and a 10-year structural. Sprinklers are going to be included, warranties on everything. And so for some people, this is the best deal you can get. And this is the first time we've seen it in history that you could get new in a better position than you can get existing.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because if you are buying a home for the first time, there are several emotions that come with it. Excitement is an obvious one, but sadness because of the anxiety and maybe the fear. But then you get into the situation where, man, I just love being able to call my property management company or my landlord if I have a personal relationship with them and say, will you come fix this leaky toilet? Will you come fix this sprinkler system? So I'm out here watching this podcast saying, I'd love to own a home. I realize I'm 100% interest rate, but I'm not quite ready to take on the weight and responsibility. Those are the two big, weight and responsibility, the W and the R, the weight and the responsibility of home ownership. Well, Brooks just nailed it there because it's under what?
Warranty.
Warranty.
So you still have a phone number to call. Fantastic, but you own it. The number you call is your builder.
So and just to kind of piggyback off that, you know, we're talking about people that don't want to really take on home maintenance and all those things that come with it.
Yeah.
But there's another side of that too, which is I don't want to mow a lawn. You know, most of these new construction homes come with a decent sized backyard, an HOA. And I just had the same exact situation. I took them to Everman, D.R. Horton and Everman, and it just so happens in this community, there's really no backyard. It's a very small backyard. I was showing these people condos, and I said, hey, you can get a brand new house for less money than you're looking at this condo for.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't want a yard. Cool, I can fix that. Mm-hmm. Put some paved stones down. You got no backyard. You got no maintenance. You have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I was just in a home improvement store this afternoon, and there was a brand new push mower for $80 on clearance. And I'm thinking, you know, you can push mow that thing in 18 minutes, 10 minutes. Just if some people think, well, I got to get a riding lawnmower, $2,700, $3,000. But most of these D.R. Horton ones that are tiny like this still lend to the modern. I got to move. I got to be on the move. I don't want an acre to mow. I don't want a zero toner. I don't want the maintenance of the carburetor. Get you a little electric push mower, battery powered, and knock that thing out in 10 minutes.
And they've invented Roomba for your yard.
They sure
They've
have.
got like an electric mower out there that can sit there and go through your entire yard, and you just set it and you just plug it in.
Great point.
I saw it one time when I was driving over here. It had fallen off the curb for some poor guy. So, oh my gosh, he's going to have to get out and pick it up and put it back on. But yeah, technology is going to take some of these things off of your plate, and or you just pay somebody $10.
Well,
One of the
look,
young-
I'm going
young
to go
kids.
back in time a little bit to give you all a little insight onto how Brian and I were raised. This is why you have kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or this is your first job.
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
that's 100% true.
Yeah, that my first two jobs. My first job was growing watermelons on my grandfather's farm. My second job was mowing yards.
Dude, I love that so much. The leader of our construction company this week, Alex, had a baby. So congratulations to Alex and his wife on Wednesday. And I said, Alex, how you feel? He said, I got to raise more workers. His fourth child. He's like, oh my gosh, expanding the team. So I want to go in a different direction a little bit. I want to talk about the price ranges that might heat up the quickest.
Oh yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be the lower price ranges.
Yeah, I do
Those
too.
are the ones that move the most. The things that whenever COVID hit that I noticed had the most competition, price increases were properties with acreage in the city
Mm-hmm.
as well as pools. So pools are not normally something that you're going to get a dollar for dollar investment return on.
No.
So it's best to get it where someone's already paid for that.
I got $1 for dollar on mine.
Well,
Yeah,
know,
but you negotiated yours down, and didn't you like dig the hole
I
yourself?
did big old
Okay, all right. Moving right along because, but I think about the people that are watching this probably aren't, unfortunately, first-time home buyers usually aren't in the $4 to $5 million price range. If you're watching this and you would be maybe transitioning from a renter to a buyer, you're probably in the price range that's going to heat up pretty quickly upon next week's news.
Oh yeah.
And you better get out
100%.
ahead of it. And I'm going to venture to say, I'm going to have a hot take on this, but I'm going to say when next week interest rates drop, we're going to see the market bust through. We're going to see that there's going to be FOMO follow right after that. So a pent-up demand breaks through, then what follows? Fear of missing out. So more buyers enter and say, well, my friend in my football team or in my Sunday school, they just locked in a 4.99. I want to lock that in. Then it starts to break through. Then more buyers enter, which creates more competition. So prices go up. We're telling you this because we care. We're telling you this because we want you to be somebody who hears this podcast and takes action on it. So, you know what? I better act quick before the whole world finds out that interest rates are coming down.
And you said a key thing too earlier in this that people have to fully understand. Lower interest rates mean cheaper money.
That's it.
Cheaper money means that real assets, gold, silver, real estate are going to go up. And whenever I answer that Craigslist ad to Chad, it was because the government had done such a poor job from 08 to 2012, and I knew that real estate was going to go up. It was either going to be I was going to get into gold and silver trading, or I was going to get into real estate. And so whenever I saw that ad, that's what I decided to pull the trigger on and get into real estate. And I've been very happy since. But the big thing for people to realize is that the federal government, the Federal Reserve is not federal, nor does it have a reserve.
Right.
And those are big things. And they have accepted 2% inflation year over year. And if you extrapolate that out and you look back 40 years, that means your dollar is going to be worth much less, half of its value. Okay, so let's date everybody. My dad would talk about being able to get a hamburger, fries, and a Coke for a nickel. I remember being able to get 2 Big Mac extra value meals with supersized fries for $5. 5 for $5 with Arby's.
Bro, I could go to Taco Bell when I was in high school. 2 soft tacos, a bean burrito, and a medium drink for $3.65.
Golly, was that the 30s?
It was the 30s.
All right, let's move on. Here's what's interesting. We predict a strong movement for Q4 of 25.
Yes.
And Q3, we're still in it, is a little slower moving, except for people like Brian Certain, who's closed a full year's worth of real estate in 1 month because the average agent sells 6 a year. This guy closed 6 last month. But what we expect is going to be a hot Q4, a hot Q1 coming into the first part of next year. And so action steps for the people listening today. Let's go around the block here, around a table. Let's literally have 50 years of experience right here. And let's give some action steps to buyers based on our belief of what Q4 has coming and what Q1 has coming. Go for it, Jason.
The biggest advice I'll have for buyers right now is don't wait to get on that bus.
So good.
When it happens, it's going to happen. It's going to happen fast. And like Brooks said, if you don't own a house right now, when those rates drop, it's almost going to be impossible potentially to buy a house. Refinancing is always a great option, but the best time to buy a house, in my opinion, is yesterday.
Yes.
And the second best is today.
But you didn't. So the second best is today.
The second best is today. But absolutely don't wait. Mark my words, when the rates come down, the frenzy will start.
Okay.
And I had someone who was not in real estate who said, don't wait to buy and wait. And so I think the most important thing for a buyer to do right now is to get pre-approved, find out what your credit score is, find out what you could afford monthly, and start working those numbers. And if you are in a lease that's got another 6 to 8 months, go ahead and start setting aside the difference between what you pay on your lease and what you would get as a mortgage, and practice actually paying a mortgage by saving that money in a savings account so that you can be better predisposed. Because when you buy a house, the truth is you're never going to have enough money. You just never feel comfortable. I grew into each one of my payments every time, from the first house to selling it to buying the second house. And then when it came to refining, I refied from a 30 to a 20, from a 20 to a 15. And so now I'm in a 15-year mortgage with a 2.25% interest rate. And everybody just wants to say, well, how did you do that? Well, I could not have done it at the time of purchase. I could have only grown into it. So if you're young, you have to think about it this way. Yes, like what Jonathan was saying, responsibility, having that burden of being able to do that. Well, that's adulting. That's becoming an adult.
It is, yeah.
And so it's important that you start mentally preparing for that, because one, it's going to increase your ability to find a great mate. Like, ladies like guys who own a house. But what happened 10 years ago is that female home ownership was beating out male home ownership.
Oh, gosh.
And so what we have to realize, again, is that you are going to be the sum total of all the decisions you make. And it's what Eddie said. You can have pleasure today, but pain will be tomorrow. Or you can have pain today and pleasure will be tomorrow. So you get to make the choice.
Yeah, and discipline comes into play here. Like, are you just going to live your life hitting the easy button forever? At some point, you got to get disciplined. You got to do some things that burn, that stretch, that are hard. You can look at almost any decision in life. Marriage is hard, but so is divorce. Choose your hard. Renting is hard, but so is home ownership. Choose your hard. We're talking today, high interest rates are hard, but so is never pulling the trigger, And so I would say, what Brooks said had so much wisdom there, because if you are going to the next step in life, which is a marriage for some of you, which is kids if you're already married, which is empty nesting if you had kids, any season in life requires some real big intra audits, looking upon yourself and saying, what do I need to get better at? Well, if you're listening to this from the lens of a buyer, that's great. But some of you say, man, none of this applies because I already own a home. Yeah, it does. Because we're also talking about the infinite person. The person who owns a home and then becomes an investor and owns another home and then stays an investor and buys a commercial property and then stays an investor and buys a multifamily and stays an investor and buys a farm and ranch and develops it. All that has to do with borrowing money and the cost of money. And next week, when the rate comes down, like we all predict, the rates for borrowing that money for any part of it, whether it be a buyer, an investor, a developer, is also going to follow. And these opportunities dry up quickly once rates come down.
Yep.
It's not going to stay like, 6 months later, I'm still getting a shiny little amazing deal. No, probably one of the best opportunities in the next 6 days before the rates come down, doing something like today, tomorrow, or the next day, because builders are begging you to buy right now. May not be the case when rates drop half a point.
And the deals Brian got his client, the builders won't offer those when rates come down because they won't need to
don't have
because
to.
there'll be
Don't have
enough. Yeah, they won't need to throw $20,000 of you at you in closing costs and flex cash and then the low
So
interest
good.
rate.
Great
And
point.
so the big Jason remembers whenever we'd go into builders during the run up and they'd be like, "Who dat?
Take a number.
Take it,
Not even take
pull
a
it
number.
out of a bowl."
Yeah, there was a line
my
around
gosh.
the corner.
I remember that.
Yeah. There was a line around the corner at the community. They had 10 homes they were releasing. Everybody drew a number out of a bowl or a box.
And everybody was like 45 everybody's.
Yes, yeah, they were people were everywhere. Agents were everywhere. Builders didn't care that you were an agent. We don't need you.
They would sit there and say, "This is the floor plan we have to sell. Do you like it? Yes, no." Okay, great. Then you'll contract. If no, who's next?
It was actually worse than that because it was
Yeah.
first 10 people come up here, sit down, have a talk with our lender right now, get approved with our lender. And if you're not going to get approved with our lender, take a walk. Next, you got approved, and they said, "This is what's left. Jonathan, these are the 6 houses we have left. Which one do you want?" "Well, you know what? I don't like any of those. I really wanted
Next.
a corner lot. I really wanted the gray color scheme." Next. Yeah. Pick a house or get walking.
I remember a story from a D.R. Horton community up in the McKinney-Princeton area, and basically after they shut down the pipeline, D.R. Horton stopped building 2 stories, and so there were tons of buyers that wanted 2 stories. A 2-story came back on the market because it got a low appraisal. So what they had was they had a group to get together. They did basically a bidding process, like it was a silent auction.
Sealed bid.
And the buyer that was chosen had gone $40,000 over asking.
Whoa.
And because they knew it wouldn't appraise, they said, "You have to go get a $40,000 cashier's check, and you have to bring it back to us in an hour, or we're moving to the next person." So as you're worried about high interest rates, imagine having to drop $40,000 in non-refundable earnest money just to have a seat at the table.
Now, we're not trying to instill fear. We're just telling stories of COVID, and hopefully we don't have another black swan event ever in our lifetime.
yeah.
However, this is going to be a change. What we are predicting next week is a change in the market. It's a difference from where we are to where we will be. And I think next week on the podcast, we're going to have a different conversation to tell. Today is like, act now, act now, act now, please act now. Next week, it'll be like, hey, man, like, wish you would have acted last
Should
week.
have acted last week.
Yeah.
What does that action look like?
What does it look
I mean,
like?
with my clients, I'm telling them right now, I need to get you with my best lenders, and we need to get you ahead of the line to get you pre-qualified, not just pre-approved.
Oh, what a good point.
And so right now they're going to be at the head of the line because they're going to know, like you said, Brooks, you said, we need to know what we can afford. You're going to already have that. So when these rates drop, you'll be able to pounce on the house that you've been dreaming of because you're the most prepared person. You may not be the most qualified, but you're the most prepared. And as Boy Scouts know, preparation is the key.
Wow, what a good point here. So this is a killer conversation because you think about whenever rates drop, just say that Brooks is a lender and he's working with 3 clients today. April, what is today? Not April.
September 10th.
Where are we? All right, we're in America and it's September 10th and Brooks has 3 clients. But next week, Brooks is a lender and rates dropped and he has 36 clients. Of the 36, to Brian's point, who's getting the emphasis?
The first 3.
The first 3.
The first 3, and then as you're going through the other 30 applications, you're looking at credit score.
That's it.
And it's kind of like the Three Stooges whenever they'd pull out a roll of hundreds and there'd be a 20 in there and they'd throw it down. And then all of a sudden they grab at it because that's what's going to happen is the most qualified are going to get priority because the lenders will go right back to going for the low-hanging fruit. And we saw that with a lot of our clients. Anyone who needed DPA, anyone who had like a little bit of a questionable credit score, no, we can't do the loan. No, we can't do the loan. Right now, they're willing to work with you. They're willing to help you improve your credit score. They're willing to talk different things to give you the opportunity to buy their house.
It's kind of cool because you think about this week, you don't have to be the most qualified. You just have to be early, which is this week. Next week, you probably got to be the most qualified.
Well, and how do you find that qualified mortgage person? Well, you lean in with your real estate professionals because we've got 3, 4, 5 in our pocket that we know who the best are. We know we've already cut the wheat from the chaff. We know where the best ones are. We know the ones that have been through it. We know the ones that are going to be able to deliver.
Yeah, because there's part-time lenders just like there are part-time agents. Nurse by day, lender by night.
Yep.
And we don't mess with that. So let's go to the chat before we get behind. Say this so the full time for the people in the back. Thank you, Ashley. Ashley Forston says it's okay to take baby steps, period. I agree. And Joanna is getting excited. She's leading the exclamation point war with "Let's go!" 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 exclamation points. Great tips, guys! Exclamation point. You know, if next week is as good as we think it is going to be, I'd say there's almost no chance rates don't come down to some degree next week, which raises buyer demand, which throws more people into the market, which gets everybody more excited about buying homes again, which it hadn't been that exciting. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Well, who at this table, though, is one? Brooks and I went out. You went out.
Yeah.
Said what we think the Fed's going to drop.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who owns a federal bank. I mean, y'all might, but I
no.
don't. But I know a lot of people who want to buy houses. What are we going to predict the rates are going to drop to? Are they going to go with a 5 at the beginning?
See, this is the opportunity, because last year they did do 2 rate cuts, and each time the rates went up because they knew we weren't through the inflation. That's why that
Right.
CPI that indicated that inflation was slowing was so important. The other thing to pay attention to, and no one's really talking about this, is what will the Supreme Court say in regard to tariffs? If the Supreme Court overturns the administration's policy on tariffs, they will have to pay all that money back, and it will change the trajectory of the administration and the way that its economic policies are
Yeah.
meant to be formulated, because they've been talking about giving us checks based upon the tariffs, and even talk about eliminating the income tax through tariffs, because we've got the countries making so much money with these tariffs.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the month, also the $7,500 electric tax credit goes away for the Tesla, for the Cadillac Escalade, for the, you know, there's some things that September is holding in its hands that we will look back and say, "Whoa, that was the most pivotal 2 weeks of the year," or "That was the most pivotal month of the year." We're talking about it right now, so you can go home to your spouse and sound really smart, or you can go home to your mom and dad and sound really smart, or you can go to your friends group and you can sound really smart because you made a decision today based on a podcast you heard of 4 guys who have a total of 60 or 70 years experience, and we're saying, this is going to happen 6 days from now. Get ahead of the price hikes, make a decision to do something now, and if you don't know who to call us. Like what you see, message me, you know. And Brian brought up I love the real solution that he talked about, because we're in a training program every morning. And if you want the Zoom link to that, maybe you're an agent, maybe you're a lender, maybe you're a insurance agent, financial advisor, message us and we'll give you the Zoom link so you can be on this training we're on every morning that is sharpening our knowledge and skills of these things. Was this good for you?
Oh, yeah.
This is amazing.
It was transformative for me.
Yeah, I really like this conversation. This is a killer conversation because it allows us to basically talk it out with each other in front of everybody live. We're just having a conversation here. We're just at the table talking amongst, you know, winners that are doing this every day. And now we've kind of been through the dress rehearsal of it. I feel like we're all armed and dangerous and ready to go have this conversation with the public.
Yeah, don't walk away just listening. Walk away and come up with an action plan, like Jonathan was talking about with your spouse or with your family. And because the knowledge is important, but acting on the knowledge is what's most important. Like, you can know that you need to lose weight and get in shape in order to have a better life, but until you start eating better and going to the gym, it's all just, you know, book knowledge. So take action on what's been discussed and let us know what your results are.
Yeah, next week we're going to call it the buyer boom is here. Rates are lower, excitement is higher, and the market for the rest of 2025 is shaping up to be fire.
I'd rather they just call it "they were right."
Oh,
They were right.
we'll see.
Told you so.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we're not calling it "they were wrong." Yeah, this has been a great episode. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back right here, right? Same time, same place, next Wednesday. And you guys have been great. Drop in the chat down there what you learned today. And if you guys enjoyed this, tell somebody about it. Click the share button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which now has over 50 subscribers and 13 episodes. Believing for 51.
Let's
Who
go
will it be?
52 today.
Okay, 52.
A full
52.
deck. A full deck.
Full deck.
52. Don't miss it. This could be the episode that changes your life next Wednesday. We'll see you guys soon. See you.